All right, so we are now recording. Welcome, everybody. If we've got some latecomers, no big deal, but I just wanted to make sure that we get started on time and end on time. So today is personal budget training, and I'm going to share with you some great things that I've learned over the last year about personal budgets and give you the tools after the webinar is over to be able to duplicate exactly what I'm going to show you today. So it's super simple. I found it to be less than fun at first, but it is very, very helpful. It's a great way to make sure that you're on track. You gain some great tangible ways to manage your money, as well as see where you're spending your money and where it's going and where it might need to go. So without further ado, we'll get started. So a few names I recognize and a few I don't. So for those of you that know me, great. For those of you that don't, I have been a top producing loan officer since 1997, and I am a core level 3 student, which is kind of the background behind this class today. This is the exact same budget that the core teaches me. So I'm going to teach it to you. And it's very, very simple to follow. It's a one-page spreadsheet, and it for me, I do it every single month, and I would encourage you to do it as well. I'll teach you exactly how I've been taught so that you can carry it into your life and integrate it where you would like. Okay. I have a degree in economics from the University of Washington, and I've got 2 kids. I'll be married 20 years in October. And as a fun fact, I can land an airplane if need be. So let's get started with some of the material here. So before we dig into the weeds of the spreadsheet of the personal budget, I want to go over some of the 6 steps to financial freedom. This is just some great high-level things for you to think about and see where you can integrate this into your life, your financial life as well. So the first step is we're going to track everything. That's the whole idea behind the personal budget. So we're going to spend some time going over where the money comes in, where it's going out, and we're going to put it into the personal budget spreadsheet. And we want you to have 3 main accounts. So we're going to use a checking account and a savings account. And if you're not in the real estate business or a team lead, then you'll just have 1 credit card. And if you happen to be in the lending or real estate business, then you're going to have 2 credit cards. And there's a reason why behind all of this. So the checking, we're going to use the checking account to pay all of our bills every single month. We're going to pay the credit card down to 0, ideally, every single month through that. We're going to use that to maybe pay some auto pay on car loans or mortgages and that sort of thing. We're going to use that. And basically, at the end of every month, there's not going to be a lot of money left in it. Where it will go is into your savings account. So the savings account is to be a placeholder, is a bucket to keep your survival account money. So you want to keep your money in the savings account. And I'll get into how much money should be in there based off of your own personal survival number. So we're going to calculate a survival number, and then we'll use the savings account to put the survival money in there. And then our credit cards, if you're in lending or real estate, you'll have 2 credit cards, 1 for personal use and 1 for business use. If you're a consumer, you don't have another business, then we encourage you just to have 1 credit card and you pay it off every single month. Personally, we like to travel. My wife and I and kids, we like to travel, so we use the Alaska Air Visa. And my wife's travel schedule has, there's every time it's like triple points for her. So we put everything we possibly can through that particular credit card. So we build up a lot of free points and first class upgrades and that sort of thing. I've heard of other people really enjoying the cash back rewards program, which really helps in funding some other things. Like my coach uses a credit card that gives cash back, and at the end of the year, they end up with enough money to pay for a vacation. So whatever seems to resonate best for you, pick a good credit card that gives you the points that you like, and then go from there. Then we want to be consumer debt free. So let's think about this and the why behind it. The average credit card is going to be 17% per year. So you're going to pay out 17% per year on that. And the average, like a good safe investment, should return about 7% per year. So if you're paying out at 17 and only getting 7% in return, you got a big gap there. So we want to make sure that we have consumer debt paid down to zero as quickly as possible. Then we want to build our survival account number, which I'll show you in column 1, actually column 2 of our personal budget. And then you want to have 3 times the amount of your survival number in savings. Okay. Then moving on to the next slide, we want to save 20% of the income. So it's by a show of, well, those who are sharing screens today, how many people have a 401k or maybe could have access to an IRA? Okay. All right. So we want to be, if you have a 401k and there's a match, you want to maximize that match, because if your employer matches you dollar for dollar up to say 3%, it's easy way to turn $1 into $2. So I don't know, Garrett, what's the rate of return on that? If you can.
Oh, not sure.
Double.
Double.
Better than zero. So we want to make sure that if we can double our money by doing absolutely nothing, that we take full advantage of that. And then if you're self-employed or you're in the real estate business, you have the opportunity to do a SEP, which means that you can put a lot more money into that versus like a 401k or IRA. So as we're going through our personal budget, I'll show you what that looks like on a tangible level. And then once you have your survival number in your savings account, you want to be investing in the marketplace. So we want to pick, so every single month we're saving that 20%. We're building up our savings account, and then we're going into the stock market, right? So we want to pick up at least, a mutual fund that has at least 20 stocks in it, and then invest in it every single month. That's called dollar cost averaging. How many people have heard of dollar cost averaging before? Great, awesome. So what that means is if the stock market goes up, you're investing. If it's going down, you're investing. If it stays the same, you're investing. The point is you're buying over a period of time and continually buying into the marketplace, so that over a period of time, as the market continues to go up, the value of your portfolio goes up with it. So there's some great index type funds out there that mirror different markets. Like if you looked up the ticker symbol QQQ, that is an index that will follow the NASDAQ. If you look up a ticker symbol that is SPY, that's an index that will follow the S&P 500. So if you don't know what a mutual fund that you want to invest in would be, well, you can follow these index funds and start purchasing SPY or QQQ, and you will follow the S&P 500 or NASDAQ. So those are some things to start thinking about as you're getting prepared to invest in the marketplace. So prepaying your mortgage, probably not a great idea until you're in your 50s. I happen to be in that category, but I'm choosing not to pay down my mortgage because I think there's better opportunities in the marketplace. I also have 2 kids. I got a couple college bills coming up. So I'm doing other things with my money other than prepaying my mortgage. Okay. So by the way, just as a disclaimer, we're not doing any financial planning here. I'm not giving financial planning advice today. If you don't have a professional that's coming alongside you and helping you, let me know or let Taylor know. Taylor's on my team. We will get you a great financial planner that can help you make some good choices. All right. So hold on a second. I think we got one. There we go. Okay. Now let's dig into the personal family budget. This gets into the weeds of how to work this spreadsheet, and we'll, this is an overview of what it looks like. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. We're going to have the month and the year. Down here, we're going to have, oh, wrong screen. Down here, we're going to have your how you've done for the month and where you've got your survival number, what balance is in there. And then we're going to look at your net worth as well. Okay. So the form simplifies, puts in one place what you're spending, what you're saving, what you're giving away, and how much your net worth is. Really, really easy spreadsheet to work with. So columns 1 and 2, we're going to start with writing down all of the debts, car loans, mortgage, credit cards, all of that. And then we're going to put in column 2, the minimum monthly payments. Okay. So in this case, we have a $400,000 mortgage with a payment of $2,500, a car loan of $12,000 with a payment of $350. Got a little bit of credit card debt, $5,000 at Bank of America, and then $2,000 at American Express. Then I want you to start thinking about minimum payments on what you would need to get by, right? So if you lost your job or you had a bad closing month, where could you pare everything down to where you just need to basically eat, sleep, drink, maybe move around, look for a job, that sort of thing. So give that some thought and put that down in column 2. And then at the bottom of column 2, it will give you the total of those numbers, and it'll give you your survival number, which is really super important. So why that's important is because we want to be able to, well, I'll show you in a bit, but now we're going to move to column 3. So column 3, this is going to be what you actually spent for the month. So let's just say we've got September coming up, right? So the personal budget for September is going to be all of your transactions that happened for the month of August. So when you look at your checking account, you're going to download all of the transactions from your checking account for August 1st to August 31st, right? We're going to download all those transactions and put them on a spreadsheet. Then you're going to take all the credit cards, all the credit card transactions that you did for the month, and you're going to put it basically on the same spreadsheet. So you're going to have the date, the pay, who you paid, the amount, and then you're going to take the category. That's going to be your last column, okay? And that'll help you fill the rest of this out. So in our example, we had a mortgage payment that was due, so that this particular household paid the exact amount of the mortgage, right? So it was owed $2,500 and they paid $2,500. They did decide to pay $50 more than the auto loan, which actually will go into savings, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Same with Bank of America and Amex. The total amount owed was only $50, but they paid $200. So we want to keep track of that. They also had a one-time expense. They're going to go on vacation, so that was $5,000, and they paid for that in the month of August, let's say. They also had an electric bill due, which was $275, but the gas bill was a little lower. The cell phone was a little bit lower. They didn't use it as much as they had thought. So they were, that was a little bit lower. So we want to make sure we're tracking what we think are the minimums and then the actuals. And so that's columns 1, 2, and 3. Column 4 is a little bit more exciting. It's where you make your savings, right? This is where we track our savings. So in this case, we had a $350 minimum payment for the auto loan, and they paid $400. So that is $50 in savings. So anything above and beyond the actual required payment goes into savings. Same with the credit cards. Minimum was 50. They paid 150, so that's 100 in savings, right? And then they put some money, $1,000 into the money market, and they put $750 in the 401k. All right. Now, you'll see this in a second. Now, the 401k money, if you happen to be able to take advantage of that, that does not go into column 5. That just goes straight into column 4. And you'll see what column 5 is in a second. Column 5 is just, it's the income that comes into the household. So you separate the sources. So if there's a 2-person household, we want to make sure we know who's bringing in what. And then if there's rent checks or dividends or that sort of thing, we put that in there as well. If you have gift income that's coming in, you put that in there as well. And you total that up for the month. And then the big thing here, guys, so column 3 at the end of the month needs to match exactly column 5. So if your survival number is, in this case, 6,700, and you really only spent $8,000, we have to do something with that $2,000, right? So if your credit cards and your checking account adds up to, I spent $8,000, there's a gap of $2,000. So it has to go somewhere. So in this case, it went into savings. So there's a gap of $2,000. So it went into savings. So make sure that columns 3 and column 5 match, and that will enable you to track where your, all of the money goes for that particular month. All right. And then we're going to get into balances and assets and net worth. So our money market balance for the month was 20,100. And it happens to be that our survival number for this particular client is 3 times the survival number, which we got back in column 1, right? We got, so this particular client's good. They have 3 months of survival number. They were able to save 20% of their income. The number of dollars that was saved was 2,000, which is fantastic. Their cash net worth is 120,000. Their total net worth is 220, and their year-to-date giving it was 500. Now, giving's a little bit more personal. We have kids that go to private schools. And I married into a Catholic family. So we have our giving through, helping our kids' schools, and that's what makes us feel good. Whatever it is for you, if you want to give or not, it's totally up to you. Set a goal, make sure you're doing that. And then if you choose to, it adds up down here at the giving year to date as well. And then the net worth section of the personal budget will show, you just do a quick safety check on your 401k balance and put it in there. And then this particular family has about 100,000 in equity in their house. So they put that in there. They don't have any mutual funds right now. They don't have any stocks right now, and they're not buying rentals. So that feeds into the total cash or the total net worth. So that we've got 100,000 in the 401k, 100,000 in equity, and 20,100 in the money market float for a total of 220,100. Everything matches. It's kind of cool, right? this is what the form actually looks like in its entirety. And Taylor and I will get you a copy of this for your records. And so hopefully you can use that for your own, we've got the end of the month coming up. Hopefully you can start using that in September. So guys, go ahead and open up your mics. I would love to hear any questions you have. If I need to go over anything again, I would love to hear any questions or comments. Taylor, you got to have a question. I'm calling you out.
I was trying to find my unmute button. But yeah, I think this is a great way to track everything that you're doing, just because I know that that's something that I struggle with. I always have a goal of, oh, I want to budget more and do this more, but I don't actually get around to doing it. So I think this is going to be a really good tool for that. But with like little tiny expenses, like for at the end of each like week or month, how do you kind of deal with those, like, I don't know, gas station expense and this and that?
Sure. That's a great question. And what I do is I look at categories. So I have a list of categories that are kind of a summary section for each month. And so I'll look at auto and transport, right? Separate from a car loan, but auto and transport would include gas and insurance for the car. It include any repairs, that sort of thing. I also look for things like household improvements. So if we're, hiring out a job for, cleaning up the yard or something like that, that goes into household maintenance and improvement. Or household goods, like, I don't know, scope at Bartell's or whatever. We'd look for trends that you can put into a larger bucket, so you're not having 300 categories every month. Mackenzie, what did you think?
I was just telling Aaron that we were talking about this yesterday. I feel like it was we just have mega camp at Keller Williams. So I feel like yesterday they stated something about it always makes sense to, like, in your head, to think about paying the bigger things off first, but it actually makes sense to pay the small things off, because then it feels like a little win at a time.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see the bigger things as like a projected goal rather than just sort of like the check mark. So I don't know, I guess yesterday sort of goes in line with this today, which is nice.
Neat.
But yeah, I think it's great. And I think the biggest downfall that I have is that I just don't write it down. So being able to see where everything
You're
is.
not alone.
Yeah, where everything is, what the amount is. I liked on your spreadsheet that next to like mortgage, you had the loan amount, and then you had, your loan amount for your vehicle. So it was like, okay, here's the exact amount, but monthly, here's what you owe. So like, they paid over, it just, I liked the way that made my brain think. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very cool. Hey, Matt, you got anything to say? I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I kind of have a question, and it may sound totally naive because most of this stuff I'm very familiar with, but I've always had like a personal standard of having like 6 months of safety saved up. And is that too much? Like, is there a reason why it's not, a non-arbitrary reason why it's not 6 instead of 3 or 5 instead of 3?
I would say, Matt, there is a personal preference on that, but 3 months would be the bare minimum so that you can start taking advantage of the stock market, right? So you have kind of this foundation of this 3 months, but you're continuing to dollar cost average into stocks or semi-liquid funds, right? So that it's reasonably safe if you really run into trouble, right? So you've got 3 months of survival number, which, probably will get you back on your feet. Then there's, if it goes much beyond 3 months, you can certainly tap into like a 401k loan. You could tap into, you might have to take a hit on a penalty to, pull IRA out, or maybe you've got some mutual funds that don't have any penalties associated with it that you could draw from. Additionally, there's some things to think about as far as a good defense. And I don't sell insurance, I don't sell stocks, but I do buy insurance. So if I personally go down and I don't get up for 3 months, I have long-term insurance right now. So if I can't work for 3 months, then my long-term insurance policy would kick in, right? Or if I go down and I don't get up, I'm actually worth more dead than I am alive right now. But it's a good idea to have that sort of morbid thing thought through just in case, right? Because nobody gets out of this alive, sadly, but you also want to take care of the ones that are surrounding you that you love and want to make sure that if you happen to not make it, that they're taken care of financially. So hopefully that helps a little bit, Matt. Aaron, what do you think?
Yeah, a lot of what Mackenzie, I'm next to her, 1 second. Okay. Sorry, we were getting a really bad echo, but a lot of what Mackenzie was saying with like definitely needing to form those habits of writing everything down. I've been like trying to track my expenses and everything on my own. So it's really nice to see like the system you had work through like all the different categories, things like that. I'm still pretty young, so I feel like I've got kind of an uphill battle learning these things. So it was really helpful to see how it's all organized, laid out.
Yeah. And you can download your checking and your credit card statements every month, right? Super easy.
Yes.
Yeah. That way, if you're getting echo, Aaron, I'll just give another pro tip. But if you could figure out how to do a pivot table in Excel, that's a really easy way to summarize the whole monthly deal. That's what I do. So I go through each transaction, I put it in my categories, and then I run a pivot table and I put in the data.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, going off of what Aaron just kind of said about kind of like, I don't know, creating the, I guess, boring habit of writing everything down. Jeff just had us read the book. It's called Row the Boat. And it's kind of about this football guy who goes into different teams and creates these cultures. But one of the like principles that kind of stood out to me is that trained behavior creates boring habits create elite instincts. So even if you think that it's, not worth your time and this or that, but if you keep doing it, it's going to create, an instinct for you that you won't even have to think about it afterwards. So hopefully we can all take that for however you want to. And yes, TJ Fleck is the football coach. Yeah. So yeah. That's cool.
Great add-on, Taylor. Thank you. GB, are you able to chat?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Cool. I know you've been doing this, right? Every month.
Trying to. Yeah. I was just saying that we'll need to go through pay log, need to go through personal budget, and got to do it by force or by choice. It's got to be done.
That's awesome. Yeah, it gets forced upon you, or you get ahead of it, right?
Right. So might as well do it.
Might as well. Right on. All right. Well, cool, guys. Hey, thank you so much for being here, guys. It was a pleasure. I hope you got a lot out of it. We'll make sure that everybody that attended today gets a copy of the spreadsheet. And I want to make sure also, Taylor, that when we send it to them, that they have access to my Calendly. So if you get stuck on anything, or you just need someone that's, 8 months ahead of you doing this stuff, you tap me on the shoulder, schedule some time. We can have a Zoom call and I'll just take a look at what you're doing and see if I can, you can stand on my shoulders. Sound good? All right, guys. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Always good to see everybody. And I will give you back the rest of your afternoon and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Anytime. See ya.
Thanks. See you in 2 seconds.